welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in August and September. I read 16 books total in August and September. I read 9 in August and 7 in September. In these last 2 months, I've read 3 5-stars, and I have a new 5-star series. I'm very excited to talk about them today. Most of the books I've read in the last 2 months have been 4 or above stars, so it's amazing. I have had a few that I don't like as much, one that I absolutely hated. So let's just jump into this. So the first book that I read in August was The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. I listened to this on audiobook. The Night Swim is about this woman named Rachel, and she has a podcast, a true crime podcast. And in this book, she is trying to solve a rape case. And it is a very heavy book. It was a very heavy audiobook. It was really well done and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed her writing style. It was a very mysterious book and it was very heavy, like I've been saying, because it does involve rape. I did not really know the plot before getting into this. I just picked it up on audio because I have the sequel, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. So the next book that I read in August was The Plot by Jean Hoff-Korelitz, possibly? I don't know how to pronounce their name, but I really liked this book. I also listened to this one on audio. This was a very audiobook heavy month for me. So the plot is basically about this author who is a professor, and he is teaching one of his classes, and he has a very arrogant student, and the student has a really good idea, a really good plot for a book that he hasn't written yet, but it's just like the plot. He has the idea of a plot. So a little bit later, and this is on the back, it is not a spoiler, the student who had the really good plot idea passes away, and the professor, he hasn't been able to write in a while. He was like a one-hit wonder. He was like, shit, he didn't really write that. He didn't like write it down. I just know the plot. I remember it. I'm gonna take that and use it as my own plot, which I thought was really interesting because it's very like, not morally gray because it is bad, but it was very interesting. And yeah, the book goes on from there. The main character, Jacob, keeps getting messages and stuff that someone's like on to him, and it's very interesting. I really enjoyed the audiobook. I will just say that I caught the twist super early on. That's a theme with me. I always guess the plot twist. I think it's because I read so many thrillers. Yeah, I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars overall. It was super intriguing, and I haven't read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang yet, but the synopses sound really similar to me, so I'm really excited to pick up Yellowface soon because I feel like I'll like it as much or more that I like this book. Next up, I read The Last One by Will Dean, and this was a 5-star book. Oh my gosh. I was super excited to read this book ever since I heard Gabby Reeds talk about it a few months ago. I believe she got an ARC copy. So the day this published, I ran to work at Barnes & Noble and I bought the book. Oh my god, I loved this book. So this book is about a woman named Kaz who gets on a cruise ship with her boyfriend, and they have a good day. They go to dinner, they go to sleep, and when Kaz wakes up, her boyfriend isn't in bed with her, so she ventures out into the cruise ship to find that there's nobody else on the cruise ship, and she's just sailing in the sea, seemingly alone. And that's all that the back tells you, but listen to me when I say this book has an insane plot twist that I did see coming. I saw this coming in the way that I was like, it's like in the back of my head, this might happen, and it would be so just utterly insane if it happened that I don't think it'll happen. But it happened. I don't know why, I just loved it. I didn't absolutely love like the last chapter of this book, but that did not take away my enjoyment. I loved this book. I had so much fun reading it. I loved it. Will Dean really did something with this one. And I am very happy that I read this after I went on my first cruise. I went on my first cruise over the summer, and I would have been scared shitless if I read this book before I went on my cruise. So 5 stars. I loved this book. Next up, I actually listened to the audiobook of Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier, In my notes, I wrote that I gave this a 4-star, but honestly it should be lower because I don't really remember this book and it's only been about 2 months since I read it. This book is told in dual timelines. One of the timelines is Paris Peralta, and it starts with her getting arrested for seemingly murdering her husband because she wakes up in the bathroom with him with the weapon in her hand. So the police are like, this girl murdered her husband. And she has a tumultuous past that they delve into. So people just think that she murdered her husband. And then in the other timeline, it's 25 years earlier and this woman gets convicted of murder. And it's like a very similar trial. And they weave together and they connect in some ways. This is also a podcast book. So if you like a thriller with a podcast element, this one is pretty good. I think I would lower my rating down to maybe a 3, just because I cannot remember too much about this book. But I do remember enjoying it while I listened to it, but it really didn't stick with me at all. It's only been about 2 months since I read it. Next up, I listened to Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I gave this book a 3 stars. It was a fun time, it was entertaining, but I didn't really take too much away from it. I enjoyed it, but like not enough. So this book is basically about these 4 women who in their 20s, they got like drafted to be assassins. They got like picked to be assassins. And now it's however many years in the future, they're in their 60s and 70s and they are retiring. And they go on this trip to like celebrate their retirement from being assassins. And then they realized that someone has put a hit on them and now they are the ones being targeted by an assassin. And I thought it was very cute. It really passed the time well because I listened to it as an audiobook, but I didn't really take much away from this book. It was a cute, fun time, but I don't remember the specifics. I don't remember the ending. It was just a means to pass the time. But if it sounds interesting to you, I would recommend it because it was a really fun time. I can see how people really enjoyed this book, but I gave it a 3. Next, I read Meet Me at the Lake by Carley Fortune, and I think I'm in the minority here because I did enjoy this book. I've heard a lot of people think that this was very bad, and I've seen a lot of people couldn't even get through it, and it did take me a while to get through the first half of this book, I'll give you that, but at the end, I was just loving it, kicking my feet, giggling, all that fun stuff. I really enjoyed it. I really love Carley Fortune's writing. I think her plots are sort of iffy to me, but both of this and Every Summer After, I really just loved her writing style and I liked how she like writes characters. But this isn't a spoiler per se, but it's like maybe like a trope warning that I see a theme in both of these books where there is like slight cheating, which I don't really enjoy. Like both of these books have like a whisper of cheating in it, like something that could be like I don't like that. So it's basically about these 2 people named Fern and Will, and they meet one day 10 years ago and they spend the whole day together, and but they're both in relationships, so they both say, you know what, like they really are vibing and they really have a connection, but they're both in relationships, so they say, you know what, how about in 1 year you meet me at the lake and we will meet again, talk things over, see where we are in life. But Will doesn't show up at the lake the next year, so then Fern just is sad, but she moves on. And then this takes place about 10 years later where they meet again. I really liked it. 4 stars for Meet Me at the Lake. I'm very excited to keep reading Carley Fortune and see if any of them could be a 5-star. Because I feel like without the cheating, I'm not saying there's cheating in this book, but without that element, I could give her books a 5-star. But that's just me. Next up, I listened to Sign Here by Claudia Lux. I enjoyed this audiobook. I gave it a 3.5 overall, but that is just because I got super confused at the end for some reason. I really liked it, but I had to go on Reddit forums and like look up reviews and people's theories and just like explanations for the end. But I think that that is like a common theme because on all the Reddit threads I saw that people also did have a lot of questions, so I don't think that was really my fault. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. It was a fun, quick audiobook. So it's about this dude who works in hell, like actually works in hell. His name's Peyote. I'm gonna call him Pei. And Pei just works in hell. And he basically, like, in order to get a promotion or something, he has to, like, get 5 people from the same family to sign, like, make a deal with the devil. And so there's 2 timelines. One follows Pei in hell, and he, like, is interacting with all the other characters in hell, and it's interesting. And then there's the family that he's trying to, like, get to sign their lives over to hell. And I liked their plot line because it was more like a domestic thriller. So this book is basically like half domestic thriller, murder mystery, half sci-fi fantasy set in hell. And then they combine, which was really interesting to read because I don't really think they mixed well. But that might just because I was listening to the audiobook, I don't know, but I felt a big disconnect. And then when the story sort of came together at the end, I was so confused. The book was fine. It was really interesting concept. I, like, conceptually loved it. But in practice, I didn't super love it. But yeah, all in all, I gave it a 3.5, maybe a 3. But it was a fun time. I recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. Next, I read the new Riley Sager book, The Only One Left. I really liked this book. So if you don't know, it's about this character named Lenora Hope. She got accused of murdering her whole family in 1929, I believe. And then this book takes place in the 80s, where this woman named Kit is, like, down on her luck. She's looking for a job, and she is, like, a caretaker. And the only job that her boss will give her is being Lenora Hope's caretaker at the house where the murders occurred. So when Kit gets there, Lenora, like, trusts her sort of immediately. And Lenora cannot speak or really move much at all because she suffered from strokes. So basically, Lenora tells Kit that she will type out the whole story and the truth on her typewriter for Kit to read, because no one knows the truth of what happened that night. And it just really gets crazy from there. I really liked this. I gave it a 4-star. The end was just a little too crazy for me to give a 5-star. I usually like a really crazy convoluted twist, but something about this one I didn't absolutely love. And I got like half of the twist right early on, then the other half of it was like, ooh, to me. And then I gave this book to my grandma to borrow, and she also really enjoyed it. So The Only One Left has me and my grandma's seal of approval. And lastly, for August, I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I love Lisa Jewell. I'm trying to work my way through her whole backlist right now. I just adore her books, and this is no exception. I gave this one a 4.5. This was so fun for me. I just thought it was like the perfect little thriller. So basically, this book is about 2 women who meet on the night of their 45th birthdays because they are both celebrating in the same restaurant. Our character Josie, she goes up to Alex and is like, oh my gosh, we're birthday twins. This is so cool, like, and they start to get to know each other. And Alex is a big podcaster, and Josie is like, I would like to be on your podcast. I have a great story to tell. I'm changing my life. And it goes from there. And it was super interesting. Again, I liked the podcast element. I think this book did it very well. This book is absolutely crazy, and the title is very true because you cannot trust a word these bitches are saying. I highly recommend this book. I absolutely loved it. Okay, moving on to September. I read this whole series throughout the month, not back to back, but I'm going to talk about them all right now because the first book I read in September was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. And then I finished the trilogy. I haven't read the last two, but this is like the original trilogy. The other two are just like add-ons afterwards. But I am planning on reading those super soon because this is a 5-star series for me. Oh my god. I loved this series so much. I have bought this book 3 times and given it to Half Price Books twice because I bought it and then like I would read the first chapter and I was like, I'm not vibing with this, I don't like this. So then I gave it to Half Price Books. And then I bought it again about a year later. Same thing, I was like, why did I rebuy this? I'm not gonna like this series. Half Price Books. Then I tried to give it one more chance. And I'm so glad I did because I freaking adore this book. I miss these characters every day since I finished it mid-September. And I cannot wait to read the other 2 books. And I think there's a third, or I think there's like a 6th book in the series coming out soon. Or next year. And I'm just so happy because the series is amazing. Truly Devious is about this character named Stevie Bell. And she's a high schooler and she is going to go to this famous academy called Ellingham Academy. Everybody who goes to Ellingham Academy has like a special interest that they're like very passionate about, and that's how they get in. Only like a select few amount of people get in. And she is obsessed with true crime, but most specifically the Ellingham murder case. And as you might tell by the name, the Ellingham murder case happened at Ellingham University in possibly like the 30s. It happened like a long time ago. Stevie goes to Ellingham Academy and she attempts to solve like this long cold case. And in like the present day, people start getting murdered at the school, so she just tries to solve all these crimes, and it is just phenomenal. It is like the perfect cozy fall YA series, and I literally think it's perfect. I gave Truly Devious a 5, The Vanishing Sarah a 4.5, and The Hand on the Wall a 5. I love these books just so much, and I'm gonna stop talking about them now because I could talk about them for ages. Read this series if you even slightly enjoy YA mystery. So next up in September, I read Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. So I read this book because it was the inspiration behind the newest season of American Horror Story that just came out like last month. And I enjoy American Horror Story. I really like the older seasons, but the newer ones like not so much. So I wanted to see what the season was going to be without like watching it, you know? And I'm sort of glad I did because I started watching American Horror Story Delicate and so boring. So boring. And same could sort of be said for this book because I did not quite love this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is still good. I had a fun time, but like the ending I didn't super love. I thought it was odd. I thought it was like a shot in the dark. It didn't really do it for me. So this book is basically about Anna Alcott, who is a famous actress, and she is trying to get pregnant but can't, and she's had a lot of trial and tribulation with IVF, and she just desperately wants to get pregnant. And while she's going through her IVF journey, weird things start happening to her. Like appointments get swapped, different things, like she leaves stuff out but she doesn't remember, and her husband is basically like, you are going crazy. And then sadly Anna's doctor tells her that she has had a miscarriage, but Anna still feels the baby within her and is convinced that the doctors were wrong. And that's all I'll say because it goes crazy. If you don't want to read this book, you should watch American Horror Story Delicate this season, but I don't really recommend it. And from what I've heard from the new season, I only watched 1 episode, but I've heard people say that it's super bad, so take this with a grain of salt. It was interesting, but it was not my favorite, and I don't think I'll be watching the adaptation. Next up on my Kindle, I read Everyone Here Is Lying by Shari Lapena, and I liked this book more than I thought I would. I gave it a 4-star. It was really good. I think it's my favorite of the few Shari Lapenas I have read. I haven't really had a great track record with her books before, but this one I really did enjoy. It's basically about this little girl named Avery who one day just goes missing, and her father is the last person to see her, but he will not tell the police or his family that because something happened earlier in the day that she went missing that he does not want to get out. I really like this book because it goes through all of the perspectives of people in the neighborhood, and they're basically like they're giving you all the neighborhood tea, and it was really interesting, and it gives you like red herrings a few times, and I really enjoyed that because you never knew who was telling the truth. And another thing I liked about this book is that a big reveal happens like not too far into it. Like I'd say 150 pages in, you get this big reveal, and I really enjoyed that. It kept me on my toes. And yeah, I didn't absolutely love the ending. I thought it was a little far-fetched, but the book in whole was pretty good, so I gave it a 4-star. Next, I read another 4.5, almost 5-star read, which is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. So this book is about a publicist named Clementine who just recently moved into her aunt's old apartment. And when she was younger with her aunt had told her that the apartment was magical and sometimes it would send you 7 years into the past. So she's in the apartment, and one day a man is just in there, and his name is Iwan. Iwan is just in the apartment, and Clementine knows that her aunt wasn't joking when she said that this apartment is magical. So Clementine tries to like suppress her feelings for Iwan because she knows that he lives in the past, but it is just so cute. So it's so perfect. I should give this a 5-star. I don't know why I didn't. It was so cute. I cried so many times throughout this book because there was not like plot twists in this book because it's a romance, but there was one big reveal that happened sort of near the end that just caught me off guard so much that it made me so emotional. Nothing I say will do this book justice, so please just go read this book if you enjoy romance and happiness and love and childlike wonder. And last and very certainly least, for September, I read The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin, and I hated this book. I absolutely hated this book. So it's about this social media girly named Sarah who buys this like famous murder house where 20-30 years ago this whole family was slaughtered by the husband. She buys it to do like a fixer-upper, to sell it, to make money, and that's all like what's on the back or on the flap. But then it's not really that. It's like not that really at all. This book really is about the main character, Sarah, who has a website called sarahslays.com, and I think that's so fucking funny. That's the only good thing about this book. This book just follows Sarah as she descends into madness, and everyone, like, no one understands why, and she doesn't understand why, and all the neighbors hate her for moving into this murder house. So are the bad things that are happening to her from the neighbors, or is it paranormal, or is there someone upstairs? I won't spoil it, but the ending was so fucking stupid. The whole book was stupid, but the ending was just the cherry on top of the stupidity of this book. Lisa, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, girl. Your author's note was very sweet, but this book sucked. It sucked. Just thinking about all of the things that happened in this and how they just didn't matter is infuriating to me. Read this if you want. If you don't want to, look up spoilers, because it is just so freaking bad that I can't even begin to tell you how pointless this book is. Not one thing that happened in this book really correlated to the other things, in my opinion. I felt like the book that was talked about on the flap and the book within the pages were just two different books. And the book within the pages was bad. So I gave it a 1.5, but probably going down just to a 1 because there's not 0.5 worth of content that I enjoyed in that book. Thank you for watching. I had pretty good reading months. So let me know your favorite and least favorite books of the month. Let me know if you read any of these books and if you liked them or despised them. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!